Hey everybody, Michael Double X the Beast here, and here with my co-pilot, I guess you might call him, Andy. She blinded me with refractors. We're gonna do some just Major League Baseball, real baseball and fantasy baseball, a little bit of predictions, who win in divisions, award winners, all that sort of things tonight with the season coming tomorrow, and get some real baseball going, and see how everybody looks. Well, got any opening thoughts here before we start sharing this?
Yeah, man, I want to see I want to be able to take a victory lap at the end of the season when I come back and watch this video and I'm like, golly, I can't believe he thought that team was going to win. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait.
You know what you won't do?
What's that?
You won't look at this if you know that you were wrong.
Well, that's true. So I mean, it's a win-win for me. I'll only bring it up if I'm come out
So
victorious.
basically, you won't ever see this video again because you're gonna be wrong.
Well, there's a chance of that. I mean, I'm not gonna say I've got it locked up or anything, but I mean, pretty much I do, but
I mean, it's baseball. There's never anything locked up.
that's true.
This is the way.
That's true.
All right. Well, I'm gonna share this PowerPoint, and we'll kind of talk through these picks, why we made them, why they're probably going to be wrong, and we'll see how that goes.
I'm not gonna say why mine are gonna be wrong, even though they probably will be, but
I mean, you can. It's you can do that.
I gotta make a case, man. I gotta, be a little delusional.
Can you see my screen there?
I can see it.
All right, let's go through. The first one is going to be the American League division winners. You wanna go first and tell me why you're wrong?
I'll tell you why I'm right. In the American League East, I kind of went out on a limb here. It's a tough division, but
Yeah.
I went with the Red Sox. I like that they added Crochet. I like some of their young talent. I like the addition of Bregman, where you don't have Devers booting the ball around at third base all the time. I think they even said today that he's just going to be like a DH this season. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's great for them. It was tough. I debated back and forth between them and the Orioles. I don't like the way the Orioles pitching looks at the moment. I mean, that's something they obviously could address, but um, letting Corbin Burns walk the way they did, I mean, I don't think they're going to be able to add anybody as good as him.
Do you think Grayson Rodriguez can fill any of those shoes
No,
if he's healthy?
no.
Yeah. I tend to agree. He's a. I don't know if he's a number one. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen anything from him yet to make me think that he's more than like a quality 2 or 3 guy. And obviously starting off the year injured with no real timetable on when his return is, that's doesn't look great. So
Agree.
yeah, the American League Central. This is another tough one, but I went with the Twins, and I think they have the best pitching staff in the division. I like the back end of their bullpen in particular. And then I like Matt Wallner. I like my guy Byron Buxton. They've got like a nice mix of young players, veteran players. I just think this is going to be a good year for them. AL West. This one was kind of tough too, but I'd look for a big bounce back year for the Rangers. I mean, they went from winning the World Series to just absolutely falling apart last year, and it was almost exclusively injuries. I mean, they had a little bit of a down year for guys like Garcia and a few other guys, but like they just had so many injuries, and I think they've got a couple of young guys they can kind of blend in with their veteran hitters. Their pitching staff, I'm not as sold on it, and so I did go back and forth between them and the Mariners because the Mariners obviously have a great pitching staff. And then I went with if we're going to be bold, let's just go ahead and say the Red Sox are the American League champions and make it to the World Series.
I mean, I don't think that's a too much of a stretch that they're capable. I really. I mean, if their young players play good, that's a really talented team. Lots of talent. everywhere. You know, you didn't even mention like a
Yeah.
Tristan Cassius and some of these guys that he played great down the stretch last year. You know, if he hits 25, 30 home runs this year, which I think there's a good chance he will. I mean, and they're really good. And Marcelo Mayer comes up, and obviously Roman Anthony, and Christian Campbell already started the season up. And if Trevor Story, if they could get 125 games out of Trevor Story, I mean, my gosh, there's loads of talent on that team for sure.
He's kind of like, obviously he's a lesser version, but yeah, I think I kind of view him and Corey Seager in the same way. Like the goal for those guys is like, they're not going to play 160 games. So if they get 120, 130 out of those two guys, I think that's a win.
Yeah, it's can you get the first 2 months out of them and the last two? Really, that's it's pretty important, for those guys. 'Cause the middle
Those
six, they're going to miss
guys are
them.
going to have, there's going to be some IL lit,
Yeah,
times for those guys for sure.
agreed. And so, you talked about, kind of going back with the Red Sox and the Orioles, and I just love that core of the Orioles, their offense, and I love the back end of their bullpen a lot too. If Bautista's healthy, and you know, there's some good there with them. Obviously, big risk, but I put them at first because I'm assuming they're going to make a trade and get some pitching. I think they're going to have to. I think Kobe Mayo, somebody like that, probably gets flipped. For a pitcher. We'll see. They should have already done it. They should have done it in the offseason. They should have signed somebody. So
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
not real
understand, like,
there.
I don't understand why they just didn't keep Corbin Burns.
Yeah, they should have offered him, whatever it took to keep him. And
Yeah.
that's a big loss. AL Central, uh, the Twins rotation, obviously Ober, Pablo Lopez, some of these guys at the top, man, they're really good. Joe Ryan's obviously really good. Love that. I do not love that offense outside of Matt Wallner. Royce Lewis hurt all the time. He's already hurt. Buxton gets hurt a lot. Got a lot of question marks. So I couldn't put them at the top just because they don't have that one big back. Correa's never lived up to it. And I went with the Royals. They have Bobby Witt. I like their offense a little bit, and their pitching still pretty solid too. And they added some stuff in the bullpen. I went with the Royals. I think this division. If you would have told me you picked the Guardians, if you would have told me you picked Detroit, I could see any one of those four teams winning this division. I really could. The Guardians have Jose Ramirez. They have Tanner Bobby. They have Clase. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that team too, for sure. And then move over to the AL West. You already said it earlier. The Mariners' starting rotation is just so good. I think 1 through 5. I don't know if they have a weakness in that 1 through 5, other than its health. And Kirby's already hurt. And right now Emerson Hancock's filling in, and he's a drastic drop off. So that pitching depth outside of that top 5 is maybe not as good as other teams, but if those 5 can stay healthy, I think they win this division. See, and then I picked them to win the AL. I mean, they're as due as any team ever. And I just think if they can take those 5 starters and they can get in the playoffs healthy, I don't think anybody else in baseball, from a depth perspective and being able to mix and match in a series, I don't think anybody else can really do that the way they do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it can't. I just couldn't pick them because I worry about their offense. I mean, it's they have Julio, but I mean, there's no Griffey Jr., no Edgar Martinez walking through that door. So
No,
it's
yeah,
like,
no Ichiro.
no, they're gonna really have to rely on that pitching staff, and if they have any kind of injury problems with that, I really worry about them being able
Yeah,
to score
yeah.
enough runs.
I totally understand that take, and I don't disagree. And for me, the Rangers, I like some of the moves they made. I like White Langford a lot. I think, obviously Seager, Simeon. I like the additional Jake Berger. over Nathaniel Lowe, I think it gives him a lot more power. You probably
Yeah,
sacrifice some batting average, but that's okay. I mean, you get a guy who, if he's healthy, I think in that ballpark he probably hits 30 home runs pretty easy.
yeah. Nobody cares about batting average anymore.
Yeah.
Overrated.
So, well, when we get to the fantasy part, we will. So, uh, all
That's
right,
true. That's true.
let's move over here to the NL, and I'll take my picks here first, and explain why I'm mostly wrong probably. The NL East, it's a 3-team race. Both of us obviously have the Braves picked to win. That lineup is so good, and those first three, 1 through 3 on their starters when Strider's healthy. I mean, that's still a monster team. You've got so much power. We were talking about it the other day when they were playing. You just look at that lineup with Harrison when Acuna is healthy, and Austin Riley, Albies and Matt Olson and all these guys. It just goes on and on, and they're so good. Sean Murphy's hurt. He's hurt all the time. It seems like, anyways. He's always got something going on. That kind of hurts him at catcher, I think, a little bit. But outside of that, once they get healthy, they're so good. They're just really, really good. Um, NL Central, I went with the Brewers. I think Jackson Churio, you'll see later. I'm predicting him to take a big leap forward. Garrett Mitchell, if he can stay healthy, Yelich, some of these guys, I think, they've got some players, Freeland, Terrain, they can really run, they can really play defense. And that pitching staff's always good. They always figure out a way to pitch. So I just think they're too good at what they do to get beat this year. The Cubs added Kyle Tucker. That's a huge bat in that, in that lineup to add. I really like that. We'll see what happens with Matt Shaw and some of these guys, over there, compete with them. And then, I think the wild, the unknown in that division is the Reds. I mean, don't you think?
They could be exciting.
That could be exciting, and it's just, can they pitch well enough in that ballpark, to win? It's a challenge, But Matt McLean, Dela Cruz, Encarnacion Strand, they've got some guys. They got Hunter Green. They added Brady Singer. That's a really good team. I hate their bullpen. I think it's one of the worst bullpens in baseball. The back end of that bullpen has some struggles to it, to me.
I liked them a lot more before you mentioned adding Brady Singer as a positive.
He's an innings eater. They need an innings eater. I mean, he's had some pretty good seasons for the Royals. If he can just have a 3.7, 3.8 ERA and pitch 190 innings, that helps them in that ballpark a lot. He's got the good sinker ball. I think he's a good addition to them. Whether we like him or not, Move over to the NL West. This is a stretch here, but it's the Dodgers. It's
Oh,
big
whoa,
stretch.
whoa.
I do think that Arizona is much better than people may give them credit. That team can really hit. They can really pitch. It's really I think the bullpen's a big question mark. Justin Martinez, can he be a closer? I don't know, but that team, they put the ball in play. They run the bases good. I like the addition of Josh Naylor, even though Christian Walker, Josh Naylor, that's a kind of a trade off there with that. But I do like Suarez at third if he plays like he did last year. I just think there's a lot of talent on that team too, and they really pitch well. Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen at the front, that's pretty solid. The National League champion I have here, it's the Dodgers. That team's just loaded with talent, and then my World Series pick would be the Dodgers over the Mariners. They're just too good.
You're making some hot takes here with the Dodgers.
Yeah, real out in left field there.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's kind of crazy how we actually agreed on 2 of these division winners. So with the Braves, I mean, that is a tough division with the Mets and Phillies, but I'll make a bold statement about the Braves. if they can keep their core guys healthy for the whole season, I don't think it'll be that close, honestly.
I
I
agree.
think they are that good.
I
But
think they could win 100 games, pretty easily if they are healthy.
but they do have so many of those guys that are injury prone. I mean, obviously Acuna is going to miss probably the first month or so of the season anyway. So you're already starting off with that. But I think if they can get him back in about a month and really just keep everybody relatively healthy, like their core guys for the the season, I think they kind of run away with that one. Even though the Mets and Phillies are both really good teams, I just like the Braves that much. The Central Division, you might call this a homer pick with the Cubs. I mean, but you gotta understand. I know we're not due to win another World Series for like 100 years or so, but
Right.
we can still make the playoffs, right?
True.
I like some of the young talent they've got up. You mentioned Matt Shaw earlier. I think he's up, faster than a lot of people anticipated. He didn't really spend hardly any time in the minor leagues. I'm a little bit upset. I mean, I can't say I'm upset because we got Kyle Tucker, but it's a little disappointing to see Cam Smith already looking as good as he does
Yeah.
for the Astros.
Paredes, they got Paredes
Yeah.
and Cam Smith, and yeah.
I'm not as worried about losing Paredes because he just wasn't a good fit for Wrigley Field with the
Yeah.
way he hits the ball. Like, he's a perfect fit for Houston, but Cam Smith, if he turns out to be a stud, that would just be another in a long line of Cubs prospects that just go somewhere else and just become stars.
Yeah. Kyle Tucker's, I mean, he's one of the top five, six outfielders in
It's
baseball, when he's
I
healthy.
mean, I assume with them making that trade, they have every intention of doing everything they can to re-sign Kyle Tucker because if it's just like a situation where he walks, I mean, that could be
Horrible.
disastrous.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let me ask you about one guy. He's kind of a homer, and you picked the Cubs. What are your thoughts on Pete Crow Armstrong? Because I like the guy a lot. I think there's so much ability there.
I mean, he struggled a little bit in spring training. He only batted 500.
Right,
So,
right.
uh,
He had a tough time.
I mean, he's one of those guys. Like, I mean, he's probably one of the best defensive
Oh yeah,
outfielders in baseball. He's got speed. He's got power. It's just, can he make enough contact?
yeah.
I mean, if he can lower like his strikeout rate, I mean, I think he strikes out like I think I saw it's like over 30% of the time last year. So if he can lower that a little bit and just make more contact, I don't think he's going to be like a batting champion or anything. But I mean, if he can hit like 250, I think he could be a guy that could, if he has a great year, I think you're looking at maybe like 25 home runs, maybe 25 or 30 steals.
I mean, he had over 30 steals last year. If he
Yeah,
hit 250, he probably steals 50 bases. I mean,
he could. I mean, it just depends. Yeah, I mean, it
he's
obviously
real
depends
tough.
on how aggressive they want to be on the base paths. But I mean, like, I think realistically though, 25 home runs, 35, 40 steals that's in the
And
realm of
probably a Gold
possibility.
Glove.
Yeah, definitely. I think a Gold Glove is the most likely.
On MLB The Show, he has 99 speed, 99 fielding, 99 throwing arm,
Yeah.
99 defense overall.
The fans in Japan loved him. Like, they kept chanting like PCA. They just loved his wild hair and everything and just how hard he plays. So he's a fun guy to watch. NL West, I mean, it was really tough for me, but I had to go with the Dodgers. Like, I mean, what a ridiculous team they have. I mean, it's like they have they have so many great starting pitchers. It's like if one of them gets hurt, they just put another awesome starting pitcher in. They
Yeah.
have like 5 or 6 closers. I mean, it's like just ridiculous what they've got. So,
Don't they have four players? I think it is that's has more salary alone than I think the White Sox, and there's like a few teams. I think
oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah. The National League champion though, I'm going with the Braves. Like I said, if the Braves stay healthy, I mean, I think they are right there with. I mean, their pitching is.
It's
You'll
out.
see it later on. Like, I mean, they've obviously got the super high top end guys that everyone knows about, like Sale and Strider, but There's another guy that I'm pretty big on that we'll see
There's
here in a little
another
bit in
guy,
my predictions.
and they got rid of a big weak link this last week by trading away Ian Anderson. They were, I think, just getting rid of a guy who's so prone to blow up and not throw strikes. I think that was probably one of the best things they could have done.
Yeah, I mean Ian Anderson, he had the one good year, like 4 years ago or something. It seems like it's been forever since Ian Anderson was
He
a
was
thing, but
great in the World Series in 2021, right?
yeah, he's got like chance after chance, and he just can't get right. So, and then I do have the Braves over the Red Sox in the World Series, so that should be a fun one when that
That'd
happens.
be that'd be a fun one to watch if it happens.
Yeah, that it will be a fun one to watch. So,
All right,
yeah,
well, let me move on here to the next. These are the award winners. I'll take this one first. AL MVP. Bobby Witt was so close last year. Judge just had that, amazing power numbers, but I mean, Witt, what was his 332 batting average, if I remember right, last year, something like that, whatever it was.
yeah.
I don't think he repeats that, but I think his power numbers could go up a little bit. I mean, he's incredible. If the Royals win that division, I think he wins MVP. NL MVP, this was my stretch I put here, and that's Jackson Churio. I think his numbers this year could be very similar to what Witt had last year. I don't think his batting average is quite as high, but his steals, his power, I think he has that capability. And that's a big stretch, but that's how I roll here. AL Cy Young, Crochet, I think, man, if he just gets to 175, 180 innings, he has a chance to win, 15, 20 games. His strikeouts are going to be incredible. I think he's the most unhittable pitcher right now. I know Paul Skeens comes in and Scooble and Sale and some of these guys, but I think Crochet just being difficult to hit and deceptive and everything. He's like a young Chris Sale, and he's outstanding. NL Cy Young, Zach Wheeler, I just kind of think he's due, and I think he gets the volume that a lot of other guys just don't get to. I think if you look at guys around baseball that maybe have a chance to get to 200, 210 innings, and those innings be really quality, I think he's the first guy that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, and he's finished top 5 several times, but yeah, he's
Mhm.
never won one. So,
Right, and I just think he's due. I think it's time for him to get one. So what do you
all
think?
right. So, I've got in the American League MVP, I've got Vlad Guerrero Jr. And I know we've got some like bold predictions, kind of hot takes that are coming here in a little bit. I'm going to throw another one in here. I think Vlad Guerrero Jr. eventually does re-sign with the Blue Jays for around $500 million. That's my prediction on that.
Well, I
But
was going
yeah,
to ask you what team you thought he was going to win this MVP for.
I think he stays. I think he stays. Like
I hope.
I don't think he's going anywhere. But yeah, I mean, I think he's gonna have a big year because I mean he's obviously should be motivated because he wants that big contract. And I mean, if 500 plus million can't motivate a guy, I don't know what can.
I
And he's
agree.
obviously got the talent. We've seen it. National League MVP. This was, I know this is a shocker, but Otani. I don't really know what else to say about him. I mean, just, when he's doing his thing, I mean, he's just clearly the best player in baseball. Not only now, he may be the best player ever,
Yeah,
really.
yeah. He is, and we talked about it earlier today. Though, do you worry? The volume, right? Are they going to rest him a lot? Is he going to pitch? Is he? Do the other guys in that team take away? From him, some of him. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I worry about that some, but I do think that if he does pitch, which, you know, I'm even at this point, I'm saying if he does
Yeah,
pitch.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree.
But, uh, so if he does pitch, I mean, there's not a lot of pressure on him because of how many pitchers they have. So I really don't expect him to throw more than like 75, 80 innings, honestly, this year. I mean, would it shock you if he threw less than that or more than that? I mean, I think that's
No, no, I don't think we see him get to 100, and that includes the playoffs.
Yeah, because I think they will want to save him for that too,
absolutely.
if he is pitching. But yeah, I mean, like, as long as he's healthy, I just it's hard to pick anybody else, honestly.
If I
It's
was
kind
running
of
the show
like,
for the Dodgers, he would not ever throw another pitch. I would tell him, I want you in the lineup 155 games a year. That's what I
yeah, I mean, whenever, because I mean, I was thinking about different guys in the National League. I was, trying to like come up with somebody that wasn't such a chalk pick, but at the end of the day, I got to the point to where, like, if I picked somebody else, it would kind of be like during Michael Jordan's prime, picking somebody else before the season to win the MVP. I mean, just,
which I
he
did,
was,
by the way.
he was clearly the best player, though.
He is. He is.
American League Cy Young. I've got a guy from the Cleveland Guardians pitching academy that they like to run over there, Tanner Bybee. I look for a big year out of him. They've got several guys that I like, actually. I like Gavin Williams a lot too, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think Bybee's gonna really step up and
Didn't I see
be
he
the
got an
ace.
extension signed?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
didn't
he
know that.
just signed like a 4 or 5 year extension the other day.
Good for him.
So yeah, good for him. National League. This is kind of my boldest prediction, because we talked a little bit earlier about how big I am on the Braves this year. Talked about Chris Sale, talked about Spencer Strider, but I actually believe their best pitcher this season is going to be Spencer Schwellenbach. A lot of people, if you're not super familiar with baseball, you're probably like, "Who the hell is Spencer Schwellenbach?"
Mhm.
But I mean, this guy is. I mean, he's looked electric in spring training. I look for him to take a big step forward here, and it's obviously they're top two guys. When they're healthy, those guys are like super studs. And I mean, if Strider was like fully healthy and had never had the Tommy John or anything, like, I would probably pick him. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Schwellenbach. What do you
I
think
like
about that?
Schwellenbach, and I like you start looking at the way some of these pitching staffs line up. You look at him as a number three versus other teams' number three. It gives him a great chance to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
It's just matchup wise. They just do.
I mean, honestly, like, he is. I mean, there's several reasons, but he's one of the main reasons that I'm so big on the Braves this year, because I mean, they've got, like, obviously one of the best lineups in baseball already, and then you've got, Sale. If Strider gets back anywhere close to what he was, and then you throw in another guy like Schwellenbach, I mean, you get into the playoffs. I mean, that's a pretty nasty trio to go against.
100%. No, I agree, and I think that's you know one of the reasons we both picked them to win that division.
Yeah, I pick them to win it all, man.
No, I know. I mean, and I don't disagree with any of that. I think they're one of the teams that has a shot.
Well, you did
Definitely very
disagree. You
young.
picked somebody else.
Well, they have a shot. They have a shot. I didn't say they didn't have a shot. All right, let's see here. Um, these are the rest of the award winners or leaders, if you will. Rookie of the year. Um, I went with Jackson Jobe. I think Detroit. He's kind of in a swollen back type situation with Detroit, where he's not the top guy, or the second guy, but I think he's going to get to be a little bit farther down in the rotation, and it's really going to be a question of how many innings does he get. But I think if he gets anywhere around 150 innings, I like him to win the Rookie of the Year. I just he throws nasty stuff and pretty good control, and he just seems like one of these guys that gets after it. I would say the American League. You've also got Christian Campbell in there. Who else? I'm trying to remember who else. And then obviously Cam Smith that you selected him there. I don't think there's a lot of guys right now that just come to mind in the American League. Could be maybe one more of these Red Sox guys, maybe a Roman Anthony spends a little bit of time down. Jack Caglione for the Royals, maybe he gets called up in May and comes up and plays well. I mean, but I don't think it's that deep of a race right now. And I probably
Yeah.
agree. Cam Smith, Jackson Jobe, and Christian Campbell are three guys that I think it's going to come down to one of them. I think Jason Dominguez is still considered a rookie, if I
He
remember.
is.
He doesn't
Yeah,
have
he
enough
is.
plate appearances yet, so if he plays
Yeah,
well, does he get in the mix? Probably.
yeah, he's
That,
eligible.
yeah, I was thinking he was National League Rookie of the Year. We both have Matt Shaw. This same thing. This was kind of a two-player race. I thought Sasaki for the Dodgers or Matt Shaw. I just Sasaki. I don't think he's getting enough volume. I think he's going to have a tough time getting deep into these games. Um, I think Matt Shaw. I think the Cubs are going to give Matt Shaw every chance in the world to figure it out and have a full season. I think you're just going to stay play. At least I hope that's what they do. They've done that in the past with players. So I like that. AL comeback player of the year. I like Jacob DeGrom. Obviously, the health is the biggest scare there, but I think if he gets 25, 30 starts, I like him to win this by a landslide. There's quite a few guys that are coming back, from injuries and different things. So this is going to be an interesting race. Felix Bautista, if he comes out and gets 45 saves this year for the Orioles, he makes a pretty compelling case, I think, to maybe be in that spot. Obviously I see who you've got there, and I think there's some guys here that have some shots. National League Comeback Player of the Year, I put Matt McLean. I like his upside a lot, and if he just does what he did the 2023 season and builds on that, I really like him in this spot to win a lot. Dustin May is another guy that I considered in this spot. He's had all these health problems and everything, and it looks like the Dodgers are going to kind of run with him and let him have every chance to be really good here. So we'll see what happens there. Home run leader in the American League. I mean, I went on a big shock there and picked Aaron Judge. He's been known to hit a couple of home runs here and there. Very shocking. I know, but if he's healthy. I mean, if he's healthy and plays 150 games, he's good for 50 home runs pretty much. I think you can just mark it down. Now, do I think he's going to hurt a little bit by not having Juan Soto in that lineup? Yes, that hurts him quite a bit, I think. But there's still times you have to pitch to him, and he's phenomenal. National League home run leader, I like Matt Olson. We talked about the Braves to nausea at this point, but that lineup, he's gonna get some chances to hit home runs, and that ballpark is catered to his power. So he's an interesting guy. So you want to talk through yours and why you're wrong on all of them except for the National League Rookie of the Year?
I like some of those picks that you have. Well, I shouldn't say. I should just be like, I don't hate all of them.
That's fair.
So American League Rookie of the Year, it's going to break my heart if it's Cam Smith, but that's who I'm picking. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just have I have a bad feeling for my Cubs that he's going to make them look bad.
You could.
But that's who I got in the American League. And then National League, I got to go with the Cub. I got to go with Matt Shaw.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, I'm thinking about like the possibility of having both of those guys in the lineup, and it's just like, man, that'd be fun. I think, anyways. We'll see if either one of them are any good, but I'm picking both of them for rookies of the year. AL comeback player. I'm going with Bo Bichette. He had just a brutal year last year. He was banged up a lot. I mean, he just didn't play good at all when he was healthy, and I just think he's too good. So yeah, I got to go with Bo. I think he's gonna have a big time year. National League, got to go with Acuna. He's gonna miss the first month, but he was hitting bombs like in batting practice the other day. So even if he's not, stealing as many bases as he was before, I think the power might still be there this year. Um, I mean, I think he'll obviously be better next year, but I think he'll be good enough this year for comeback player of the year. AL home run leader, you know, Judge is the safe pick. I'll agree. I mean, but I had to go with Jordan Alvarez. I would just like to see what this guy could do if he plays, 150, 155 games. I mean, I think he could hit 50. I think he could hit 50.
Yeah, I think he could. I mean, obviously he's got the abilities there, and yeah, he might hit 50 and still hit 310, or two. I mean, he's got that kind of ability.
Yeah. And then National League, I had to go with Mr. Peter Alonso.
Yeah,
He he kind of had a little bit of a down year last year. He's got a lot to prove, I think, because he had to wait so long to finally get signed during this offseason. Maybe that was somewhat of a motivator for him to kind of get him back on track.
And
But
he didn't get
just
a long-term deal. And
no,
I think he has an option out after this first year, if I remember right.
I think so. So I mean,
And
he's got a lot to play for.
yeah, I agree.
He's got some financial incentives for sure.
And I mean, he's going to hit behind Lindor and Soto in that lineup.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I mean, he's in a great spot.
I agree. I like, I like him as well. And I wanted to ask you about one player that's not on here that I didn't put as well, and I wrote him down just so we could kind of talk. AL Comeback Player of the Year, Mike Trout. Neither one of us put him. We didn't really talk about him. Is that because of lack of trust that he plays enough?
Um, I mean, that's always a concern, but I mean, I think you got to be a little bit concerned with their overall lineup and their team. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it was pretty nice when he had Ohtani on the team and some of those guys, but they're not much there. I mean,
Right.
so I think his RBI opportunities are going to be somewhat limited. I mean, if he can stay healthy, if you just told me that he's going to stay healthy the whole year, I'd be like, yeah, I mean, put him in there for comeback player of the year, and he's probably in the race for MVP.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
kind of like with Jacob deGrom, like you were talking about, if he makes 25 or 30 starts, that would be incredible. And I mean, I think he would obviously be in contention for the Cy Young if he does that, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of us really think that he's going to get that type of volume. And I think with Trout, it's like the same thing. He's been injured so much over the last 4 or 5 years. It's like he's kind of eligible for the comeback player of the year award every year
Yeah, I agree.
at this point.
I mean, you and I have talked about this a bunch, together. Is when he plays, he's great. I mean, he's really never had any type of bad stretch. He just can't stay on the field anymore, unfortunately.
If you win the MVP, are you eligible for comeback player of the year also?
Yes.
Okay, because I mean he could win both if
Yeah.
if he
Just
played
like
enough
DeGrom
games.
could win the Cy Young and comeback player of the year both.
Yeah,
And so could a Spencer Strider. There's a few guys, Sandy Alcantara. There's some guys that.
yeah, I just don't think guys like that, pitchers, especially coming off those major injuries, they're just not going to get the volume probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what we got on those guys.
Yep. All right, let's move on over here. This is fantasy baseball. This is not
Fantasy baseball, it's finally here. I know we're in, how many leagues are we in
8.
together?
We're in 8 leagues together, and then I have 2 additional leagues as well.
Talk about degenerates.
Degenerates, 8 leagues together. That's a lot, and like I said, I've got 10 total. And these are all prize leagues,
Yeah.
10 total. Did you do any others besides these 8?
Yeah, I've got a couple other ones.
Yeah, so you're in that 10 range as well,
Yeah.
and honestly, next year I'd like to do 15.
So, I mean, this is kind of interesting because you said you have 10 teams and you're like, we're in 8 leagues together. So, how does it feel like going into opening day knowing that you can't finish any higher than second in 8 of your leagues?
Well, that's we were only in one last year together, and can you remind everybody what you finished versus what I finished?
I think I finished third. I don't remember what you finished.
I finished second. You finished third.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Yeah. So
I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember if it was second or fourth.
yeah, that's what it was. Just in case you were wondering, but yeah,
Oh.
we do enjoy fantasy baseball. We both obviously get into it a lot. We do a lot of research. We take it probably way more serious than we should.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. So we thought we'd throw a few of these predictions together. Real baseball, fantasy baseball, they go hand in hand a lot, but specifically when you're doing roto, which is what both of us like to do.
Yeah.
There's some differences between a good roto player and a real good just all around baseball player.
Oh yeah, sure.
Just the way it is. So, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so like number one hitter, I went with Bobby Witt. I mean, I just look at him, he's like a true 5 category guy. I mean,
Yep.
there's not very many of those type of guys that can do it all like he does. So, I mean, to me, he's kind of the obvious guy there. I mean, of course, if Judge has one of those stupid years where he hits like, 55 or 60 home runs, it doesn't really matter if you steal bases when you hit that many home runs. So, I mean, it's
Then
not a
you've got
slam dunk, but he just
then you've got Otani that is only utility eligible, and it it hurts me from putting him as the number one hitter, even though he might be if he does what he did last year, he would be basically. But I still like that Witt is a shortstop eligible.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, Otani, like obviously he can do all the stuff that Witt does. I just think that his volume is going to be down a little bit this year, especially if he tries to pitch. They're going to kind of take it easy on him. He's not going to. He won't have as many at bats this year, trust me, as he did last year.
No, I agree. I agree for sure.
Yeah. Pitcher, I went with Garrett Crochet. I mean, only question about him is just like, does he get enough volume?
It's volume and
His
health, but every pitcher has health.
Yeah, I mean his per inning stats and the leagues that we're playing in are all like daily lineup leagues. So like on a per game basis, I mean this guy's just ridiculous.
Amazing. Then
Yeah,
I'll explain the Roto Superstar. That's what I jokingly call them. These are guys that you don't draft in the top, 80, 100 picks. Guys that they don't really help you out with everything, but they're good guys to supplement with. You can get them late. If you have a guy that maybe has a low batting average, you go grab one of these guys to help you out, and they kind of just sneak under the radar, So that's, and out next to
yeah,
them is their Yahoo average draft position. So sorry, go ahead.
yeah. And I took Jerks and Profar. Like, I mean, I didn't even realize going into this, like, or after I finished, like, I didn't realize how many Braves I picked for stuff. Like, I'm just really all over them. But I mean, Profar is going to be hitting leadoff at the beginning of the year until Acuna comes back. So I think his run totals should be up. And he's just one of those guys, like, when he's kind of at his best, I mean, he's not going to like blow you away in any category, but he's not going to hurt you in anything. He's going to be like pretty much above average everything. So I really like that. And then we did like a roto superstar pitcher. I like Christopher Sanchez for the Phillies. He's like his velocity is way up in the spring. So the really one thing that was kind of missing from his profile was strikeout rate. And so, I mean, all of his other stuff, his ERA, his whip, all that stuff was already good. He throws a decent number of innings. So if he can get that strikeout rate up a little bit, I think what was his ADP 167. So
67, yeah, point one, yeah.
yeah, and it went up a lot from like, I know like when we started drafting our teams, like early on, like I've got him a couple times, like way later than that, like at the very end of drafts, but he really shot up the board
Yeah,
late.
he did.
Um, so my biggest bust versus ADP hitter wise, I've got CJ Abrams. He's being drafted at like around 56th overall. I just can't get there on him. Like, I don't know if he's mature enough. He got sent down to the minors last year, even though he was an all-star, just as kind of a disciplinary thing.
Yep.
His batting average has kind of been consistent over the last couple of years, around 245. I mean, he's a good player, but I just think that he's a little bit overvalued because of his stolen base potential. And I'm not as big on stolen bases as I guess some people are, but pitcher wise, biggest bust, I had to go with DeGrom, and it has nothing to do with me not liking him. It's just he's being drafted so high. He's being drafted in like the 5th round
Yeah.
of these drafts, in 12-team drafts. And
Fourth,
I mean,
yeah, fifth round, yeah.
I just don't think he's going to get the volume. I think I only have him on one team. I just had to take a one shot at him, just because he is so good. But that's a tough pill to swallow, drafting a guy like in the 4th or 5th round when you know that he may only pitch like 100 innings or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, real tough.
Yeah.
I our hitter and pitcher over here, number one guys. Obviously I picked the exact same ones you did. With, like I said earlier,
Yeah.
I got the number one pick one time, and you did. I think we both took Witt, or maybe you took Otani. I can't remember.
I had the number one pick one time and I took Witt, and then I had the number two pick
Two
one
picks.
time and I got Otani
You got Otani, yeah, and
with the two pick.
when I went to pick this one, I was like, okay, who did I pick at number one? Obviously, I thought that's who the best guy, and it was Witt, and
Yep.
and so I went with him. I like I said, the eligibility is a big part of it to me. I don't like the Otani is utility eligible, and he may, like I say, he may actually finish as ranked number one. We'll see. Otani could. He's certainly capable, but yeah, give me Witt. Crochet. Um, do I think that Crochet gets the volume of a Zach Wheeler, who's the third ranked pitcher in most formats? Scooble probably gets a little bit more volume. I think Skeens and Crochet's volume will be very similar. And so that's a big prediction to say that Crochet on a per inning basis is better than Skeens. But I think this year, I think he will be, especially when you factor in wins or the capability of getting more wins. You know,
Yeah.
but I really like Garrett Crochet going into this year. I mean, like I said, just give me 175, 180 innings out of that guy, and I'm going to feel real good about it. You know,
Yeah.
Roto superstar hitter. I went with Xavier Edwards. He's a 114.6. I usually don't like guys like this. I usually try to stay away from these guys that have no power. But if you can get some power early, if you draft a Matt Olson, Kyle Schwarber, I never draft Kyle Schwarber, but if you did, Xavier Edwards is a great guy to go grab. His batting average is probably going to be really high, and his steals are going to be really high. Unfortunately, he plays for the Marlins, and he has no power, so he's not going to help you everywhere. He's not going to. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Superstar pitcher in this situation, Cade Smith is a guy that I like to get him just on a per inning basis. Obviously, doesn't get you saves. If it's a league that has holds or something like that, he's probably worth way more. But I like him. He just doesn't get hit hard. His whip's great. It's going to get you, quite a few strikeouts on a per inning basis. And if Clase were to get hurt or something, you got to think that he's the guy that probably gets the saves for a pretty good team with a pretty good bullpen.
I actually love that type of player in like the daily lineup format because those guys are like somewhat ratio stabilizers.
Yep.
They can really help. I mean, yeah, because on a per inning basis, I mean, he was absurd last year.
Yeah, I mean him and Brian Abreu, Matt Strom. There's a few of those guys that were just lights
Yeah.
out. And Gratterall can capable of being that guy for the Dodgers. There's a few of these guys that are just so good in those roles. Griffin Jacks, of course,
Yeah.
for the Twins. But I really like Cade Smith. I think outside of closers, I think he's the best reliever in baseball. At least last year, I think he was just. I mean, like I said, he was just unhittable last year. Um, and I'll say the Guardians know how to use their bullpen very well, and they put him in great situations to get you a few wins. I think he had 7 wins last year or something.
Yeah.
I mean that's solid.
I
Biggest,
just don't need him taking any wins away from my guy Tanner Bobby.
yeah, yeah, but you need him, but you need him holding on to wins for him.
I need him holding on to leads. I just don't need. Yeah, he can't
Yeah,
be
yeah.
taking any.
That's a biggest bust versus average draft. For a hitter, it's Devers to me. It's taking him at number 30 is scary to me. And then we did one league. What did somebody take him? Was it 13th? I think overall.
Yeah, that was crazy because he was ranked quite a bit higher like early on in the draft
Yeah,
season, and this is at the end where somebody took him like
yeah.
13th.
I think
He
early
dropped.
wasn't he originally ranked like 19th or 20th? Something
Yeah,
like
he was like
late second.
late
Um,
late second
yeah, maybe
to
like
like
22nd, 23rd, maybe or something. Yeah,
yeah.
and he definitely slid. I mean, obviously, I put him there for several reasons. Number one, I think this whole DH thing, I think it's bothering him. We've seen it come out, and I don't know if the Red Sox are going to put up with him, causing problems. I wouldn't be surprised we don't see him on the injured list some. If he has little nagging injuries, not playing through them. And I just think this year is going to be one of these years where it's just a bust of a year. Now I say that bust of a year. I don't think he finishes around 100th or something. I don't think he like drops way out.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Devers, like I don't worry so much about his feelings being hurt. I worry about his shoulders. He's had problems with both of them.
Yeah, he's had shoulder
And
problems.
that could, like even if he is able to play through it, does that zap a little bit of his power? So I mean, I agree. Like I don't think he's gonna live up to that draft price tag there for
Yeah,
sure.
I think I didn't draft him in any of the 10 leagues. I don't have him on any of them, and for good reason.
I drafted him once and it was early on when he was even higher ranked. So
Right? Yeah. Well, good job.
yay for me.
Good job. Good job. Biggest bust, pitcher. I put Sasaki there, and as much as the Dodgers do right, I think signing him. I don't know if that's really what they needed to do. I think they probably could have quote unquote saved the money and spin it wiser or not spin it at all. I think it's not that I think he's going to be horrible or anything. I just don't think you're going to get more than four or five innings per start out of him, and I think you're going to see runners on the base paths constantly. I think you're going to see him be wild. I think you're going to see these 4 2/3 inning starts where his pitch counts in the 90 range, and he's walked 3 or 4 guys, and probably struck out 5 or 6 guys too. But I just don't think you're going to see him justify a top 100 slot. I think he probably finishes 150th, 170th, something more like that heading into next year. And then next year, heading into next season, you might be able to draft him at 150th and have a chance for him to actually move up to where he's rated now. I think is more likely.
Yeah, when I watched him pitch that first game over in Japan against the Cubs, he reminded me a lot of Yu Darvish when he came over here, as far as like he just absolutely, I don't know if he's incapable of it or he just refuses to throw strikes. Like he's
Mm,
constantly just trying to get you to swing at bad pitches. And maybe he did that a lot and got away with it over in Japan, but like these guys weren't going for it. And I mean, the Cubs are not by any means like one of the more disciplined lineups in baseball.
yeah.
So if they're able to lay off a bunch of that stuff, and I mean, even his fastball, it's like he just could not throw strikes. Like his strike percentage was awful. And he's somewhat of a luxury guy for the Dodgers to have. They have plenty of guys. So if he struggles, I mean, he could very easily have some kind of phantom injury where he gets put on the injured list, or they could just yank him out of the rotation.
Well, I think it was 56. Whoever sees this, don't quote me exactly on the numbers. I think it was 56 pitches thrown and only 26 or 27 for strikes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he struggled big time, and like I said, he's got great stuff. I think he's going to get some swings and misses, but he's going to throw it in the zone.
I mean, he was walking guys like crazy. And I mean, even the outs he was getting, like, he wasn't getting a lot of like early pitch outs. Like he
No,
was,
yeah,
going deep in the count on every batter. You can't
yeah,
do that.
I agree. Okay, move over here. You want to take this one first? These are the best.
Best value versus ADP hitter wise, I had to go with my guy Byron Buxton. Like he's the one guy in fantasy baseball I just can't quit. His average draft position's 232. To me, that's a steal.
How
To
many leagues
me,
do
like
you have Byron Buxton in?
uh I think like 6 or 7.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
unbelievable.
anytime I could get him. The only times that I don't have him on a team is when somebody just didn't jump up like quite a bit to get him. But yeah, like I mean, to me, I don't think he's that much different than Luis Robert, honestly. And Luis Robert goes like probably, I don't know, like 150 picks earlier.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
If they're both healthy, I think they're kind of a similar player. And they both have injury risk, but for some reason, people draft Luis Robert like way ahead of Buxton. For my pitcher, I went with the gas man, Kevin Gossman. He was being drafted around 162, pick 162. So if he can get like some of his strikeout stuff back, last year he was pretty good last year. But his strikeout rate was like one of the lowest, if not the lowest he had ever had in his career. So if he can get some of that strikeout rate back, I mean, I think he's gonna, probably be around, I don't know, 100 to 125. So you're probably getting like a 3, 4, 5 round discount, I think.
He's definitely a candidate maybe for trades and things if the Blue Jays decide to dismantle,
Yeah.
some. So he could end up on an absolute contender down the stretch too. Which
Yeah.
even helps his value even more if he gets some wins and that sort of thing. I went with Junior Caminero
Sure.
there with my best versus. I really think going into next year, it might be bold to say that he's going to be a second round pick just because that first 2 rounds are so stacked. But I think he's got a chance to be right on the outside of it. Maybe finish ranked 30th, something like that heading into next season, or how he finishes this season. So
Yeah.
I could really easily see 40, 50 slots moving up this year from versus his draft position. I think in that ballpark, I think he's going to be kind of the man in that lineup, and the lineup's not great, so that kind of curbs my opinion of him a little bit, but talent's there. I mean, he's got the ability, I think, to go out and hit 25, 30 home runs, drive in 100 runs, and hit about 280.
Yeah.
And third base is a weak spot, in fantasy baseball, and so he checks a lot of boxes to me. And then I went with Robbie Ray. I thought about him even for the comeback player of the year. And I kind of knew I wanted to put him somewhere on here. So this is actually where he landed for me. He's another guy. If he gets enough innings, I feel very confident in him moving up inside the top 100 or right around the 100 spot. When especially when you look at starting pitchers and how volatile it is with innings. I think he just needs to pitch a lot. I love him in that ballpark. I mean, he's gonna he's got a chance to definitely pitch very well. And it's going to be a matter of how many innings can he pitch and how many strikeouts does he get.
Yeah, I think we should do we should do a bet on this one right here. I think we should do a bet. Like here's the proposal. Like out of Gossman and Robbie Ray, whichever one of them is ranked higher in fantasy baseball when we go to the national, whoever's the loser has to buy the other one a dinner.
That's fine. I think no, I would definitely roll with that.
Because I mean they're fairly close, like in ADP. So I think
No,
it's pretty fair.
They're close in age, everything.
Yeah.
Very very similar across the board. They're in teams that are not at the top of their divisions. They're in really tough divisions. So no, yeah, I think I would take that. So are we saying? So you were saying whoever is highest ranked or whoever moves up the most spots?
No, whoever's ranked highest.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That
mean,
just makes it easier.
yeah, I think so. I think both of them have a chance to be around 100 by that point. It's gonna be interesting. 100 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie Ray's looked fantastic in the
Look great.
spring.
He's like great.
I mean, I think with both of these guys, if they're healthy, I mean, it'd be a good race. I mean, probably what's going to end up happening is whichever one of them gets hurt, that's going to be the loser.
Yeah. It's when one of them gets hurt, right?
Yeah, probably.
All right, you ready to move over here for some somewhat bold predictions?
Yeah, let's see them.
So I think yours are first. Yeah, yours are first. You just had 2 of them on there, so it's not
My
all.
God, whenever I was doing these, like all these predictions, like I must have just what was I doing? Because I mean, I have Braves all over the
Brave
place.
fanboy is what you are. I thought you were a Cubs fan.
I mean, I thought I was too. Maybe I'm converted secretly here. I say Grant Holmes finishes as the top 40 fantasy starting pitcher. And so they're kind of doing with him what they did with Lopez last year. It worked out really good with Lopez. Grant Holmes has looked really good in spring training so far. So I'm going to step out and say that, if I've got the Braves, I guess if I have the Braves winning the whole thing, I mean, a lot of these guys have to play well. So I guess it makes sense that I have so many of these guys. But And then I think that O'Neal Cruz has a 30-40 season, 30 home runs, 40 steals. I like the way he's looked in spring training. He's obviously got the power. He's got the speed. It's just like last year, he just wasn't super aggressive in trying to steal bases, and he's looked like he's maybe going to try to do that more. I think in spring training, he was like stole 5 out of 6 or 6 out of 7, something like that. So if he runs, I mean, he's got the
Can he
speed.
get
So
on base consistently, right? That's
yeah,
the big thing for him. Yeah.
sure. Well, I mean, yeah, he doesn't hit for a super high average, and he does hit a fair amount of home runs. So he's not really known as a singles hitter. So
He's gotten a lot more
he doesn't
polished.
walk.
Last season, he got a lot more polished at putting the ball in play.
Yeah,
Much better
yeah.
than he had previously. So
He's not a big walk guy, so
no,
but
he's not
he
going to.
needs to be swinging the bat good.
Yeah, I agree. I like both of those. I think those
Which
are
one of those do you think is which one do you think's the most likely to come true out of those
O'Neal
two?
Cruz getting a 30-40 season.
Yeah, you're not buying my Grant Holmes.
No, I like Grant Holmes. Are they gonna leave him in there enough? Right? He's been one of these guys that's been known to get lower amounts of innings. He's been really good in these spurts.
Yeah, so you're just not buying my Braves propaganda.
Those are your words, not mine. All right, let me move over here and I've got 3 crazy predictions. First one was the most crazy, I think, and that's Xavier Edwards wins the National League batting title and has the most steals. I mean, that's a league with Luis Arias in it for batting title, and also has Bryce Terang and some other fast guys.
What about Ellie De La Cruz? He's pretty
Ellie De La
fast.
Cruz, right? Yeah, I mean, right. And so I mean, it's
That's pretty crazy.
I think he's capable. But like I said, that's a really bold prediction there, intentionally.
That's really bold.
I agree. And then next one down, you see Edwards again. But only 6 players in baseball hit 300. Like I said, I don't remember how many it was last year. I want to say it was around 10.
Yeah, it wasn't very many.
No, Arias, Edwards, Witt, Jordan Alvarez, and Juan Soto is who I think.
I like that list. I would probably, if I was going to say 6 guys, I would probably take off Soto and put in Vladimir.
Yeah, they're both capable.
Oh yeah, of course.
Both really good. Soto swung the bat a lot last year, and hit pretty good home runs in Yankee Stadium. I think he's going to be more selective this year, and I think his average will go up, and home runs are going to come down a little bit. That's what I think is going to happen with him.
Yeah.
We'll see. And then my last one there, Athletics finished top 5 in Major League Baseball in home runs, led by Mr. Rooker, who has been on an absolute tear the last 2 seasons. He 39 last year, I think is what he hit, and I'm curbing him up a little bit higher this year just because of the ballpark change.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't disagree with this one. I will say though that these home runs may come along with like a 235 team batting average. Like they struggle. And I mean, we'll see how this new ballpark plays, but
Right.
they've got some guys in that lineup that they struggle with the batting average.
They do. I agree, but I just think they're kind of a lot of these guys are kind of hitting their peak here at the same time. I think JJ Bleday is very underappreciated. I think he's a guy. I think he's going to probably hit in the cleanup spot for him from everything I've seen after Rooker and then 3-hole. Lawrence Butler. I mean, we haven't talked about him at all today, but what an incredible player he is. He's definitely a guy that could bust out in fantasy and be big time. Real baseball, obviously, does a lot of the little things right. Plays good defense. Runs, hits for power.
Yeah.
It's an interesting team. For sure.
Yeah. And then Shea Langeliers, I like him too.
Soderstrom and Langeliers. I mean, you got a
Yeah.
lot of power between those 2 guys. Nick Kurtz, if they bring him up, out of the minors at some point, he's got some power. They're starting Max Muncy at shortstop, the other Max Muncy, and they've got some guys. They've got some guys that can hit. It's just like I said, that's kind of a bold prediction, just because people don't really think about them very much.
Yeah.
Oh, for good reason. I mean, they kind of, they
No,
don't
I mean,
have it
I
done.
think if most people will look at that and be like, "What did they do? Did they get Canseco and McGuire back, or what happened here?"
Right. Yeah, for sure. And it's a fair, but I think I think it's a perfect storm of like they didn't trade anybody away. They didn't really add anybody, but they got a lot of these guys that are just really hitting their prime, and I just think it's a perfect storm for them to have a big offensive year. They're not going to pitch well. They're we'll see what
Yeah.
happens as far as their record goes, but they can slug it, I think.
Well, they're one of those lineups too that like, you know, they don't have like a lot of big names. Like the like casual fans probably don't know very many guys on the A's.
I agree. I agree. And but in fantasy, I think people do recognize these guys. A lot of these guys because they
Yeah.
got guys that you kind of know like, oh man, if I can get a Lawrence Butler in the sixth round or whatever, like I need to get him. There's guys that they have. Rooker, we saw him move up. I think the first couple drafts we did, he was what like in the 50 range, and then by the end he was getting drafted late second round, early third round.
Yeah, I think the highest what was the highest we saw him get picked, like 28 or 29?
27th, I think, was the highest, something like that. 27th, 28th, right there somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah, so like our third. Yeah,
early third. Yeah, early third.
that's pretty. I mean, if you look at his numbers last year, if you think he can repeat that, then absolutely he deserves to be higher even. But
If you didn't even repeat it, he deserves there. And then a lot of people think that he may improve on the power numbers. I don't think he's going to hit, what was it, 293 batting average last year? I think that's what his batting average was. I don't think he
yeah.
repeats that.
Oh, if he repeats what he did last year, I mean, he's borderline first round
Yeah,
guy.
for sure. For sure. And I mean, he stole some bases. He was really solid.
Yeah, I didn't get him in very many teams because people really jumping up to get him.
Yeah. I only have him twice. I have him once in my dynasty league on Fantrax, and then I have him on one Yahoo league, and that was I think the last one that we did. And I got him. Was that the one? I think I had the 12th pick, and I got him. I think I got him on that one. I don't remember, but anyways, yeah, I've got him. I know I've got him twice.
Yeah.
He's a guy I wanted more than that, but I just wasn't going to take him. In the 20s.
Yeah, I thought he was at the beginning of like when we started doing these drafts like a while back. I mean, he kind of seemed like a bargain in the beginning, and then a lot of these fantasy experts started like, talking him up, and he got moved up a lot of people's draft boards. And
He
there's so many guys I just liked.
Yeah, we'll see, but he's a big power threat. I like me. I like any of these guys that are these big power threats that don't kill your batting average and some of the other categories. He's one of them. I mean, if he like I said, if he gets anything over 280, I mean, he's a bargain. At those rounds. Do you have anything else? Bold predictions or anything else?
I'm just ready to watch some games tomorrow. I think it's kind of weird that they don't start until like what 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, yeah, which is
That's
I got a
different.
doctor's appointment in the morning and got to do some work and everything, and then I'm taking off afternoon tomorrow, and then I'm taking off Friday and Monday, all through the weekend and through Monday, and yeah, I'm gonna watch baseball until my eyes bleed.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna work until like around 1:30, and then I'm gonna try to rush home so I can watch the first games.
Yeah, watch the first ones, and
Yeah.
it's always a fun time of year, and it's just it never gets old after all these years. I still enjoy it. Yeah, you get kind of sick of the spring training games, and you're just like, oh, let's get it going. And I know baseball's unique because you got to build up, the pitchers and do some things and timing and all that. It's a unique sport when it comes to that. It's the sport that your natural athleticism probably plays the least, which means
Yeah.
you got to get into it. But still, for the fans, it's like, oh, let's get going already. It's what.
It's so much different than like the other major sports because of how long it is.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like think about it. It's like that's almost like what they do in spring training is like 2 NFL seasons.
yeah, yes,
And
one
it's, like over a third of an NBA season.
yeah, yeah. It's
That's
it's
just
so
that's
unique.
before the season starts. I mean, you've already played 30
Yeah, and then
games.
they play for 162 games after that.
Yeah.
I
Oh yeah.
mean, it is unique, and but I also, like I said, as a fan, like you as well, we understand why. I mean, you got to get these innings built up for these pitchers. I mean, we already see the injuries. It doesn't even stop all of them, but if they threw them right in the mix without the warm up, it'd be bad.
I mean, if you have one of those position players that they're rare now, but like every once in a while, there's somebody that plays like 162 games.
Mhm.
But even say if you played 160, when you factor in the spring training, and then if you go deep in the playoffs, I mean, you're playing over 200 games.
Yeah, sure.
It's
Matt Olson and
insane.
Austin Riley every year. I mean, those guys play 152 games every year. I mean, they're two of them that come to mind for sure.
Yeah.
Matt
Wow.
Olson, he's done it several times, quite a few times.
Yeah. Marcus Simeon's another guy that he
Marcus
plays
Stimson,
a
yeah,
lot.
he always plays here. Those guys. Yeah, I like those guys that play. Jose Ramirez, he typically plays around
Yeah.
that. He doesn't take days off. But yeah, I mean, you know, it should be an interesting season. I think heading into last year, pitching depth wasn't as good. This year it seems to be a lot better so far. Um, that helps a lot. I think the run scored early on might be a little bit tough to come by. We'll see. And then
Yeah.
as the pitchers start dropping like flies, which they will, runs will go up, and then it'll get warm and the ball flies out. So it's
Yeah.
gonna be fun.
Yeah, the last thing that I had written down here is like, real quick, if you've got like an hour or so, if you want to break down the first round of the NFL draft coming up, like if you can just do the whole first round analysis for me on
I'm
that.
not gonna do that. I'm gonna
Okay.
just take Travis Hunter, avoid the quarterbacks, call it good.
All right. All right. That sounds fair.
No way I would. There's no way I'd take any of those quarterbacks early. I do know that. I just don't like them that much.
Yeah, I don't either.
So, all right, well, we'll call it good there, and I'll get this bad boy posted for everybody to not watch,
There you go. Yeah.
and for our predictions to both of us to be wrong, and us to never talk about this video again.
I look forward to those two people in the comments that say, you guys are idiots.
Yeah, me too. It'd probably be us.
Yeah.
All right,
Funny.
well, good luck on your fantasy team tomorrow. I hope all your guys get injured, and
I appreciate it.
wish you luck.
I appreciate it. I bet you do.
All right, we'll catch you later.
All right.